Welcome to Small Talk with Raincraft. I'm Subha, a leadership and executive coach.
And I'm Hasita, a marketing strategist.
We're just two people who love to talk
and love to learn.
And this is us being curious about the world around us.
Join us.
So Subha, recently a very young friend of mine, it makes me feel old just saying that, but somebody who's at the beginning of her own career is just considering multiple options, and she kind of spoke to me about how she's a good writer, but she's also educated in architecture. She wants to do something in that space and eventually hopefully move on to interior design and sustainable city design. So many options out there. So she was just thinking, do I begin as a writer? Do I begin as an architect? Do I begin as a writer with an architect? Like, how do I bring, some of these skills together? And that really got me thinking about what really is a career, right? And how do you go about building it, planning it, especially in today's times when there's so much, both opportunity and uncertainty. How do you even predict what the next 10 years will look like for you to plan your professional life?
Yeah, no, so true. And I doubt actually if anyone today who's in the early stages of their careers even thinking 10 years. I think a lot of us are rethinking our entire relationship with work and what does it mean? What is, like you said, what is career? What do I want to be doing? And the stats are quite staggering. I believe over the last year, and these are American stats, but about 60% of youngsters, right? And that's like less than 30 years of age, changed their field of work. They quit jobs, rejoined somewhere else. I know a lot of it is pandemic induced, but what it has resulted in is a complete rethink of what I want to be doing, what is engaging for me, what is worth my time in a way.
Yeah. And in that sense, the definition of a career has changed, or maybe it hasn't. It's just that we've become so much more aware of what it means to us. Because in general, the difference between a vocation and a career is that you are supposed to enjoy the career component, right? Like the vocation pays the bills, whereas the career fulfills you on the inside out. So it's quite an interesting place to be, I think, for a lot of us, maybe rethinking or even thinking about parallel situations in which we can find ourselves potentially. So I have a lot of questions on the subject. The biggest one probably being, how do I even know if I'm ready for a career switch? And assuming I am, and let's, for the sake of the example, think of something radical, like tomorrow I want to become part of a choir, for example, or, I want to be doing something completely different. How do I even go about it?
No, I think you're right. It's definitely a time of abundance, which is a good thing, that there are a lot of opportunities out there. There are a lot of fields that you can explore and just dabble in and see if that you can make something lasting out of it. But I think fundamentally it has to start with what or who motivates and inspires you. What is it that you know or you feel that I can get up every day and do this for a while, right? Be it writing, or be it something creative, or be it something even very operational that, like you're working for an e-commerce company and you're managing logistics, or you're working for, let's say, an Uber and part of the city planning or city marketing efforts, whatever that may be. But it's something that I can get up every day and keep doing this for some time. Yeah. And I like what skills I'm building, because I think it's really about building skills, or building these experiences are not for me to kind of just go in and do something and walk out with a paycheck. And I think that attitude we've seen, that's pretty much gone, right?
Yeah, so true. Because it's a very short-term kind of thinking, and at the end of the day, somewhere you do hit a roadblock in terms of, okay, I've switched 4 times or 5 times, but then what happens, right? But just going back to your point earlier about just finding something and sticking to it. I think there's a sense of FOMO as well in terms of choosing one over the other, because the fact is that the thing we practice over and over again, we will eventually get better at. Unless we are genuinely doing something that our bodies and minds and spirits are not ready for, it's very unlikely that I spend 3-4 years doing something and I don't become good at it. Right? So how do I choose what is that something that I should be investing my time and my energy in? And how do I think just like know for a fact that, okay, this is something I am willing to commit for the next 5 years at least.
So I like what Cal Newport says, right? And I think it originated in his book, So Good They Can't Ignore You. I like it for one reason, that it goes the other way from that very, very cliched idea of follow your passion. Because we're all, I don't know, what is that passion? And not every passion converts into a paycheck, right? And then you just feel worse about it because you've discovered your passion and you can't do anything about it. Like you can't give it the time of day, right? So I like his idea of hone your craft. Like over your career, build, or over your lifetime of working years, build your career capital, which is really to go for experiences that will help you to hone what he calls rare and valuable skills, right? Keep collecting those skills and keep mastering them. Like you said, if I do something for 3-4 years with a lot of intentionality, then I am most likely to have mastered that skill to an extent. So now it's in your kitty. And then find opportunities where that valuable skill is valued, right? Where that you have to really do that homework. You have to take stock of, hey, what are my current skill sets and what do I need to develop because of a general idea of what I like. And that means reading a lot of maybe job posts. What are companies asking for, right? What are some skill sets they're asking for? What are some behavioral traits that they're asking for? Maybe even speak to recruiters. I think that too, across the career, we have to be open to meeting a wide range of people and saying, hey, what do you do? What does that job actually entail? What are the things that you need to be good at that job?
So true, so true. And in that context, how would you, or rather, what kind of weight would you place on niching down and getting really specific and building a specialized set of skills in today's day and age versus building a set of diverse skills? Maybe some of them may not even fall within the Venn diagram of what is considered my career circle, so to speak. But maybe it could be something completely off center, like crochet or pottery or some of those other experiences, which I find that also come back and contribute in unexpected ways sometimes to the way we think and who we become. So would you recommend that people really specialize, whether it's the soft skill section or whether it's the hard skill, the core skill, or do you recommend diversifying and doing a little more of the branching out, so to speak?
I think we'll look at it a little differently, that if I am defining my objective as collecting rare and valuable skills, right, to just go with that terminology, then I need to, at some point, for it to be both rare and valuable, at some point I have to hit the niches. I have to get a little deep and I can't stay at the periphery of something. So if I'm, let's say, in the business of law, right, and I'm a trained lawyer, then can I really just be a generalist and know all forms of law? Yes, but that'll only get you so far, because at some point you have to say, hey, I'm good at criminal law, hey, I'm good at IP law, or I'm good at some kind of law. And once you've honed that, then how do I make that rarer and more valuable? So what else do I enjoy? I enjoy technology. So what's at that intersection? So maybe I look at AI in law, right?
Yeah.
And I say, how do I learn this? How do I explore this? Who are the people I need to talk to? So I think that bit of niching is, if that's a word, that bit of niching is required, because you do want to be really good at something that many other people aren't so good at.
Yeah.
But knowing that these are my transferable skills. So I'm really good at building relationships. I'm really good at analyzing data. I'm really good at execution of projects, right? Project management, managing a bunch of people, getting things done on time. So what are those transferable skill sets that this current job role, what I'm doing, is letting me build? And then on top of that, putting together my work experience, my educational qualification, my interests. What is that rare and valuable output that I can kind of just keep honing?
Yeah, that makes sense, I think. And especially if you're in that space of having made a decision, I think a lot of us do make these decisions 90-95% of the time in our heads. And it's just about kind of taking it out there and doing something about it. Where should I start in terms of getting advice, right? So sometimes I may have 4 or 5 skills, and I may be interested in more than one among them, who should I ask, or who's the right person or the right group of people, so to speak, to tell me that, hey, maybe this is something that we've seen you be really good at, and therefore you should probably consider doing this. How do I go about that?
Well, that's a great question. And I was reading something recently on HBR, which talks about creating your own board of directors. And I found that to be an interesting concept, where it's not really about adding a bunch of mentors, which we tend to do if you've been in an organization long enough or in an industry long enough. You have those 2-3 people who formally or informally you can reach out to because they've been there, done that, and kind of can give you advice that you need. But in this context of rethinking our relationship with work, we're really thinking, okay, what's my top priority? Do I want to create an impact, or do I just want to get better at what I'm doing, or do I just want to make more money, right? Or do I want more work-life balance? What will kind of fulfill all of these needs? Then I need to create that group of people whom I can go to, who's an expansive group of like independent advisors in a way.
Yeah.
Kind of think of them as each director on your board being able to give you very specialized advice in a different area. And so somebody is great at managing people, and so you can talk to them about team building or how to motivate somebody in your team. Somebody is great at the written word, so you can go to them for how do I articulate something. Somebody's just talented at a bunch of things. Somebody is just a friend who's really willing to listen to all your rants, right? Each one is able to contribute in a different way, but you can reach out to them with these smaller, quicker asks. I think those conversations help us also understand, okay, what are my strengths? What are my gaps? How are others seeing me? Because then that's how the workplace is also seeing me. So let me keep creating this little board of well-wishers and supporters, maybe 4 or 5 people, not more than that, and maybe it'll also keep changing with time, but reach out to them and say, hey, I might come to you once a month just to bounce off some ideas that I have. For you, that really makes a lot of sense to say that, hey, someone you know is a senior marketer who's done a lot of stuff in an area that interests you, let's say sustainability. And you say, hey, can I just come once a month and bounce off stuff with you?
Some ideas,
Maybe that's not even the right example for they don't need to be a marketer. You're the marketer. But someone who's in sustainability. You want to create that intersection.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, I'm also thinking if you really zoom out and some of the statistics you mentioned earlier about some 60% of people generally reconsidering, I think, the work that they're trying to do at this point in time, there is both a challenge and an opportunity at a much larger scale for every organization. That could be in terms of either retaining talent on the one hand, or it could also be about identifying the right talent on the other side, because everybody is rethinking everything, right? So how do you, I think at a systemic level, when I have 50, 100 people in a team, in a system doing the same thing or doing similar tasks over a period of time, how can I be mindful of the fact that they all have their own interests, and even to an extent the fact that they might be reconsidering what they're doing? Because I can't really afford to lose 50, 100 people at the same time.
No, and it's the reality, no? I think many organizations are just constantly hiring because the churn is so high. And those who are inside also, there's a very significant group that's disengaged. I think they've earned themselves the kind of bad rep of saying, oh, disengaged millennials. But they are disengaged for a reason, because this is a group of people who are in this world of abundance, and they do want access to senior people. They want visibility. They want to be involved. Maybe because even in your formative years, your nuclear families, you're in smaller classrooms, and you're used to having a say. You're used to being a voice, being listened to. So how do I help this group transition and be better engaged at work? And also, I think they're the pulse of what's going on out there.
So true. Yeah. We would be so lost without feedback in terms of what actually is happening in the world out there, right?
Correct. I think some large fashion brand, was it Prada or Gucci, said that we really didn't listen to this group, and we kind of missed that whole influencer buzz. Like we didn't really catch the whole digital marketing buzz in the way that it could have really served us well.
Yeah.
Because 50 plus year olds are making most of the large decisions.
Strategic decisions.
Yeah. There are organizations that have really done this well through a concept of a shadow board, where really create like a board of youngsters. Don't stick to the staid, okay, some assessment told me these 10 people are the high pots, right? But figure out who are those guys when you offer it up, putting their hands up and saying, I'm interested in being a part of this. This is a skill set I want to learn or develop, or I want access and visibility and I have ideas. Show that it has support from the top, not just for doing something quirky. And then keep it agile. You learn and you keep tweaking the program, but apparently there are quite a few organizations who have tried this shadow board and given them significant projects, saying, hey, you guys tell us what should our digital transformation 2.0 look like. Or you guys tell us how are we going to enter emerging markets, right? And the shadow board of youngsters has come up with ideas and implemented them, which has had astronomical impact, positive impact for the company. Interestingly, there's a bunch of youngsters that I've been coaching, and they kind of jumped from one startup to another.
Okay.
And I was asking them that that was also e-commerce. This is also e-commerce. Why did you jump? And they said no, because when we joined the first one, it was a small company, and we had access to the founder. Now it's like a 2,000 plus company, and I'm too many levels away from the founder. So I've jumped to another one where I am just one down or two down from the founder, and I have greater access, and that's important to me. I want to be at that founder level.
Wow. Yeah. No, absolutely. Right. I mean, if I'm bringing an X amount of value to the system and I want to be seen for it, it's perfectly rational, right? And what an interesting thing, right? Like, I'm sure this would not have come out in any exit interview, right? So it's quite interesting to think that, makes a lot of sense.
For my very staid or very traditional organizational brain, you enter at a certain level, then you go to the next, and then you go, and you don't say, hey, I want access to the CEO, right? You have earned that over so many years, but it's no longer like that outside.
That's so true. I think accepting change, both at the individual level and the org level, I think it's so much more important now, because I think it's been enforced and it's been imposed on us, so to speak. Maybe this will be called the Great Reckoning for all we know. So time to reckon with some of these changes, I think, both in ourselves and the companies that we work with and the ones that we hopefully wish to work with in the future as well. Yeah. Thank you so much. That makes a lot of sense.
No, it takes effort. It takes thinking through it, planning, and putting in the hours to craft, okay, where do I want my journey to go? Because these are my interests right now, and this is what I'm seeing in the world around me, and I want to be doing some of that.
So, Subha, now that we know all of these things about where we are as a collective and as individuals, I'm just also thinking, how do I represent this to the world outside? I may be 100 different things in my head or in my circle of influence, but the fact is that the person who's hiring me or will hopefully hire me will not know these things. So how do I really put myself out there? Is a resume still relevant? Is there something else I should be considering apart from just trying to summarize myself in 2 pages?
That's a good question. I think the resume is relevant, and it's also, I find, as I work with people on their resume, it's a very cathartic experience because there are some who really, oh my God, there's so many different things I've done, and it's 5 pages and I have to bring it down to 2, and I'm not even seeing a common thread, right? And then trying to really unearth what are those transferable skills, what are those skills that I've built up in each stint, right? Because I asked them to think about, in each stint, what is the value you've added to the organization, and what is the value the organization has added to you? Like, what have you learned? Because that's what you're carrying to what comes next.
Yeah.
So I think a good place to start is to look, really maybe put that down on paper, and then that can translate to what you want to say on LinkedIn, what you might want to say when you're speaking to someone in your network or trying to find a new mentor. It really helps that you're then structuring your thinking, saying, hey, these are the skill sets that I have. This is a common thread between the things that I've done. And also in that document and on LinkedIn, calling it out, saying, hey, I am somebody who's done technology pre-sales or I've done a lot of technology delivery and I'm transitioning into strategic consulting. So call it out.
Yeah.
A lot of things in life, first you have to call it out and then
hope that they come to you.
So I was just going to say that the we crashed effect is still on me, and then you have to manifest it.
I was going to get a little philosophical. Maybe. Yeah, interesting.
But definitely, I think very interesting times out there. A lot of companies are really getting back to shape in a way, finding their footing. Heard 2-3 people say that business is better than before. Without the pandemic, because of the pandemic, we've rethought so many things and innovated in so many ways, and we are more clear on what we want to do and where we want to go. I think as individuals and organizations, there's a sea change.
Yeah. And I think that's quite gladdening to hear almost. And we all needed to get in shape a little bit on the professional side for sure.
We are both ready for a career change now.
What's next? Travel influencing? Okay, I don't know.
That was fun. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Hey, small talkers. Thank you for listening till the very end. We love bringing these episodes to you, and we hope you enjoy them too. Please do drop in your comments, likes, shares, reviews, whatever you can do on the platform that you're on to help us reach a larger and larger audience. And that would really make our day. You can find out more about today's guest or today's episode in the show notes. All the details and how you can find us on social media is right there. Thank you and see you next time. Bye.